Do you want an easy and practical recipe to let go of fear after crashing or your fear of crashing in general? Well, here it is. Hi, I'm Roxy, graduate mental trainer, psychological counselor, and skills coach for all levels. But above all, I'm a passionate mountain biker myself who used to be an absolute scaredy cat. We will get into that in detail later on. How can you get rid of fear after a crash? What can you do against fear of crashing? Answers to these questions and much more is what we are getting into today. This video has two parts. One, what can you do directly after a crash to prevent the fear from turning into a mental block or a strong and limiting fear? Two, what can you do if the fear has already taken hold of you and you are now afraid of falling virtually on every ride or in a similar situation? You will use the same technique for part 1 and 2, except that I have an additional practical exercise for you to follow along in part 2. So make sure to watch the entire video. Otherwise, you won't know the essential steps from part 1 to complete part 2. First, a little story about me. When I first started mountain biking, I felt super insecure on loose, slippery terrain, especially when the loose, slippery terrain also had big rocks in it. Shortly after I started, I crashed on a section exactly like the one I just described. I went over the handlebars and smashed my face into one of those big rocks. I literally face planted into a rock and looked like I fell asleep in a blueberry pie. I looked so bad that everybody, literally everyone, was like, honey, there's something you can do against domestic violence. Yeah, well, that just won't help if your domestic violator is a rock, an innocent rock, which certainly didn't even move an inch towards you by itself. So that experience stuck with me for long. I was terrified of riding off-road for a long time, afraid of going over the bars again, afraid of losing control, afraid to slip. I was just afraid. And probably that experience is the reason for my passion for this profession, because I know how magic it feels to replace fear by confidence and control, and why I'd like to share some keys to reach this with you today. So let's get into the first part of this video. What can you do directly after a crash to prevent the fear of crashing from taking hold of you? Here's a 3-step plan that you should actually write down on a piece of paper or save it as a note on your phone so you'll have it with you the next time you crash, which I do not hope you do. But still, write it down because it will be hard to remember and to use it when you need it if you don't write it down. First, of course, after a crash, check that you are physically okay. If not, of course, first administer physical first aid. If you are hospitalized, which I do not hope either, you can start with the 3 steps I'm giving you next in the hospital or as soon as possible. The quicker you do it, the better. If you are physically okay or first aid has been administered, then you can initiate the following 3-step mental first aid protocol. It's like a master plan. Step 1, sit down, breathe calmly and mindfully. Most people don't do this step because they are ashamed or don't want to hold the group back. So, they brush off the dirt and quickly jump up to carry on. But I ask you to actually sit down and breathe. It is important. If you are out on the ride with people who do not respect this, well, then you may want to ask yourself if these are actually the people with whom you want to spend your most valuable asset, which is time, voluntarily, because, So take this time for yourself. Yes, it will take a few minutes, but these minutes will save you so much more time and suffering in the long run. Because after a crash, your body goes into a fear reaction. This is normal. In this reaction, your body releases a cocktail of hormones that it needs to fight, freeze, or flee. This is called the FFF response, which is your body's freeze, fight, or flight response to danger. Your body does this automatically. You cannot change that. What you can, however, change is whether this FFF response lasts or whether it quickly dissipates. So step 1, sit on the side of the trail, take a few deep breaths. That means focus on breathing out longer than you breathe in. This will look like this. Do this for 3 rounds. If you have something to drink or a snack with you, especially if you notice that you are shaky, take a sip or bite. I'm serious. Because food intake causes your autonomic nervous system to self-regulate. It causes your nervous system to turn on the rest and digest response, just like the type of breathing I just showed you. And what you're doing with this is you're allowing your body to get rid of the FFF response. That is the freeze, fight, or flight response. Because we cannot think ourselves calm. So it will not help if you or someone else says to you, hey, now calm down, or will you just chill? That actually usually tends to have the opposite effect. But breathing and eating are a bridge to your nervous system, so you can use them. By using your breath mindfully and concentrating on long out breaths, we can change that hormonal cocktail in our body and turn it around. Okay, now comes step 2. Step 2 is listen. Listen to your feelings. Feelings have one main function. They want to tell you something. If you push them away or ignore them, they will become louder and louder. You can prevent them from shouting louder and louder by listening to them. And the faster you listen to them, the better. So ask yourself, what exactly am I feeling? Is it shame? For example, am I blaming myself because I just crashed in a totally easy section? Is it fear? Is it because I'm afraid this will happen again? Or is it anger? For example, because I knew it would happen and I didn't listen to myself? Or is it because I feel incompetent? These are all legitimate feelings. Take the time to feel all the facets of these feelings. I'm not saying go down the rabbit hole of the thoughts causing the feelings. I'm saying allow to feel the feelings. Also, to identifying the feelings, that as in naming the feelings. In psychology, we often say name it to tame it. So you're naming the feeling, like anger, sadness, fear, or shame, to tame it. And very often when it comes to crashing, it is one of the following feelings: fear, anger, shame. Although shame is often related to fear, For example, the fear of being rejected or the fear of not living up to your own standards. So take your time to really feel these feelings. Even if it is briefly uncomfortable, I can almost guarantee you that after an initial flare-up, these feelings will already subside because they realize that they have been heard. Remember, they are there to be heard. And the less you listen to them, the louder they're like, hello, hello, here I am. Hi, I'm your fear. Listen to me. I think you get my point. Okay, that's why you want to listen. So now comes step 3, analyze. Now that you're a little calmer, your logical brain should be back to working order, or so I hope. So look at the section in which you crashed and analyze it. What exactly happened? Why did you crash? What was the technical or mechanical cause of your crash? And how can you avoid it in the future? If you don't have time to do this right now, then take a picture of the section and take this step calmly afterwards. It is an important step though. Before you write on, take a deep cleansing breath. Check if your bike is okay, if everything safety related is working, and continue your ride. Okay, now I would like to dive a little deeper into step 3, the crash analysis part, because this is the part where you can learn a lot with the information you will be getting in the next minutes. To the question, why did I crash? What was the cause? There are 2 possible answers. 1, you know why you crashed, and 2, you do not know why you crashed. Let's look at option 1 first. If you know why you crashed and also know what you can do next time to avoid it, great. If you do not know why you crashed, then you can now fast forward the video to. So if you know why you crashed, the next thing you must ask yourself is, did you only technically know what to do? Or do you actually have the ability to perform this knowledge? What's the difference, you may ask? Well, knowledge and ability are not the same. To turn knowledge into ability, into skill, you have to practice a lot. You need a lot of structured practice. If you've been following my channel, you know this. So ask yourself, was the knowledge already transformed into skill by sufficient structured practice? Can you really perform the key bike and body movements automatically, even if you are distracted and under time pressure here on the trail? Because on the trail, the movements must happen at exactly the right time, in the right order, like a Swiss watch. So to this question, did you only technically know what to do, or do you actually have the ability to perform this knowledge? Again, there are 2 possible answers. Answer 1, I have the ability, so I have the skills to ride a section in control. Or 2, I may well know what I need to do, but I have not yet turned this knowledge into skill. To make this a little easier, I have a little flow chart right here, which you can see. So if the answer is 1, yes, I have the ability, but I just screwed up, just like, sometimes I trip, although I can walk, you will probably notice that the negative feelings, for example, your fear, is already reducing. So it already decreases because you are relatively confident that this is unlikely it will happen again. If the fear is not decreasing, although you know you have the ability, but somehow you are still scared, well, then contact me because we can look at this in a mental coaching and find a solution for you. And also, I have a home training course dedicated to finding your cause and finding your fix right here and in the pinned comment below. Or also on www.mtb-mental-coach.com. Okay, so what if the answer is option 2? You have come to the conclusion you may know what to do, but if you're honest, you do not have the ability yet. That you haven't yet turned the knowledge into skill to ride that section. Well, that's actually great too, because it's super brave of you to acknowledge this, because you now know what you can do to build confidence through building competence. So it's now time to work on your skills strategically to build the ability and movement patterns you will then need to ride that section in control the next time you come around. Okay, so working on your skills over time in a structured manner is then the answer. And if you would like to do that with my proven drills over weeks from home, then look right here and in the pinned comment below, because no skills are not built in a day, just like muscle is not built in a day, and just like no one learns to write or walk within a day, because motor learning takes time, and therefore feeling fearful if you notice that you do not actually yet have the skills, that you do not yet have the ability to write a section, is a very smart and healthy thing to do. And you can overcome it by working on your skills. Okay, where will you actually work on your skills? Well, not there, not in this section. You cannot and you will not build skills in a fear zone, because it's a performance zone. And you need something called a learning zone to learn skills. I already have a video about that, which I will be also linking below. So if you're only working on your skills on the trails, then it's like a piano player, only ever playing on stage to get better and never purposefully rehearsing in a safe environment. Just, like you would never practice at home or in a rehearsal room. You probably notice it's like, that doesn't work. Same applies to mountain biking. Okay, now we come to option 2 of the original question. Do you know why you crashed? And your answer is no, you do not know why you crashed. If you have no idea why you crashed, and that was actually the case for me in my crash, the crash I described at the beginning of this video, I had no idea why I lost control of my bike, why my bike stopped all of a sudden, and why it catapulted me over the handlebars. Well, if that's the case, then that's usually a sign that you don't have the riding skill for that situation yet. Because if you have the skill, then you also have the knowledge. Because knowledge actually comes before skills. Usually, if you have the skills, then you also know which movement you need to perform, when you need to perform it, and you can also feel whether you have not performed it correctly to cause the crash. So, if you have no idea why you crashed, then this is most probably because you do not know what you do not know. Okay, so coming back to the story of my crash, back then, I simply had no business riding there. yes, this hurts, but I was a beginner. I had just taken a half-day skills clinic where, yes, we had gone over the fundamental skills, so I had understood the skills. But of course, I had not yet turned them into skill because it is not even possible in a day. I was already fearful of loose, slippery stuff with rocks before I crashed there. So, my body was clearly telling me something, but my ego was like, you got this. You just learned how to ride this in the clinic. You technically know what to do, so let's do this. The guy said, speed is your friend, and so let's just let go of the brakes, just keep rolling, and you will be fine. And put some pressure on your handlebar because you remember the guy said you need grip on your front tire, so we got this, let's do this. That was my ego. Well, speed was my friend until it got me to detonate into a rock at high speed, and pressure on my handlebar was great until it made my front wheel suddenly stop on a rock, and my bike threw me off, flying through the air in a huge looping, face planting into a rock, remember? So, why? Because I simply did not have the skills. Until years after the crash, I had absolutely no idea why I crashed because I still didn't have the knowledge I didn't have the skills. And you know what? I hear this almost daily from my clients. They crash, it happens to them, and they have no idea why they crashed because there was nothing there. But when I look at their video, and also now in retrospect, thinking about, my own crash, I know the reason for the crash, and the reason why I crashed, and the reason why most people crash is because they don't have the fundamentals. I was going way too fast for my abilities. I had a very bad riding position. I had no braking skills whatsoever. I was way too stiff on the bike because I was scared I could crash, because I had no idea what I was doing, and because the terrain was way above my technical abilities. Again, I had too much pressure in my hands, and boom, of course, my front wheel is not going to roll over a rock if I have too much pressure in my hands. It's just physics. And what I want to let you know is that this is the case for most crashes. So if in step 3 you realize that you have no idea why you crashed, then I can recommend this course right here. I can recommend it from the bottom of my heart, and I guarantee you that it will give you an in-depth understanding and a deep level of ability way beyond, way deeper than any one-day course can give you, because you will be practicing in a structured manner with proven drills over weeks, allowing your body and brain the time they just really need to build your solid foundation. And a lack of a solid foundation is the key cause for more than 90% of the crashes in my experience, because it is your fundamentals that make you a safe rider. And the more experienced you are, the more important your fundamentals. So now we come to the second part of this video. What can you do if you have crashed and this fear has already taken hold of you? Before we start with a practical follow along exercise, I would like you to rate your fear. So how strong is your fear? Rate its intensity on a scale from 0 to 10, 0 being you have no fear whatsoever, and 10 being you are agitated in fear. Okay, so write it down or remember this number. The first 3 steps are basically the same as in the first part of this video. Let me summarize them for you. 1, sit down, take time for yourself, and breathe mindfully, concentrating on a long out breath. 2, listen to the feelings and name them to tame them. And 3, analyze why you crashed and draw your conclusion on how to proceed. And 4, here is step 4, a very simple follow along exercise that I want you to do now. Join in, because this exercise only helps if you really do it. Just like skills training only helps if you really do it, if you really practice physically. Okay? So you take your left hand and hold it straight out in front of you, palm facing up, as if you were feeding a horse. And your right hand is on top of the left hand in a fist. You now always flip hands, so that once the left hand is up, palm up, and the right one is in a fist, and then you swap, and so on. This may be a little harder. Now you say, even if I have this fear, it's okay. I accept myself the way I am. Repeat these words, and we will do this 3 times. Even if I have this fear, it's okay. I accept myself the way I am. Even if I have this fear, it's okay. I accept myself the way I am. Even if I have this fear, it's okay. I accept myself the way I am. And now you massage a point on your left chest. I will now show you how to find the spot. Okay, it's between your left nipple and your armpit, and if you feel around here, it's slightly painful, you will find it. So go looking for it. You'll find it as soon as it's a little painful. Now you take your right middle finger and gently massage this point. And you breathe in quietly through your nose and out even more slowly through your mouth. And while doing this, I want you to focus on the fear. I want you to focus on the fear that you want to release, massage, and breathe. For about 5 long and calm breaths, or as long as it feels good for you, and pause this video here to do this right now. Okay, welcome back. Now I want you to shake your hands off and feel into that fear. Has the number decreased? If it has, write down how much in the comments below. Please do share it. I would love to hear. And if nothing has happened, which is pretty unlikely, but if it has, then repeat the process another 2 times and then comment below. If it still has not changed, then we can look into this in a personal mental coaching. And also, I can recommend you the Courage and Confidence Booster course, which is a self-help mental fitness course which goes way beyond biking, that I have designed specifically for mountain bikers, and you can also find it below in the pinned comment. I am so grateful that you were here until the end, that you took this time for yourself and spent it with me, and I look forward to a comment from you below. I'm sending so much love. Become a patron right here if you'd like to support my cause of offering skills and mental advice for free here without showing unskippable ads. I'm Roxy, and you are awesome.